Hello, 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 and welcome to Under the Hood. And my guest today is Scott Patterson, and I am delighted to have you. And we were having a little technical difficulty, and I just said, when that happens, the name of my company is Mastery Under Pressure. So hopefully all will go well. And I'm so happy to have you here. So, Scott, tell us a little bit about you, your background. And the way that I always kind of start this is that for Under the Hood, patterns that are created in childhood impact us as grown-ups. And I always invite leaders, people that are leading other people, taking care of other people, and just trying to learn what are some of the things that you have learned along the way that have helped you do your job really well. So, again, tell us a little bit about just your company and what you do, and then we'll go backwards, if you would.
Sure. Well, you've already introduced me by name, Scott Patterson, and I am an accountant and financial advisor. I run a suite of a couple of companies that really seek to be a center, a hub, a resource, particularly for business owners and retirees as they go to brave the tax world, try to lower that tax bin. I've never met anybody that would like to pay a little bit more in taxes. I'm sure they exist, but I haven't gotten to meet them yet. So taxes and how that intertwines with business and increasing and running a profitable business is something that we love to do with entrepreneurs. We work with 100 or so very, very deeply in an ongoing fashion. We prepare tax returns, a couple of thousand a year, and we even loop in financial planning because we learned early on that typically in life you get accountants and you get financial planners and you get insurance agents and you get attorneys and these are all people that advise your financial life, but the problem is too few times do they ever communicate, and you're left to be stuck in the middle and coordinate those. And most of the time, you don't realize it. First of all, you don't know that you're supposed to be coordinating them.
Right.
Um, but even when you do, and one says go talk to the other, you end up in a position that's often uncomfortable and you don't really know how to be that coordinator. So we bring a lot of that in house. So you just have to tell your story once and it all works together well. And it's a
That makes
fun
so much
puzzle to
sense.
put together.
It makes so much sense. So tell us, Scott, go back a little bit and tell us about some of these patterns that have led to your success. What did you learn at an early age that has helped you today?
What did I learn at an early age? So I spent early part of my life. Let's maybe go back to the beginning and say I was born into a military family, born in Japan. My birth certificate is issued by the State Department, not by any particular state. That's always fun when I go fill out the forms and they say, what state was that from? And I have to find the other box. It sometimes isn't there. But very quickly, my dad got out of the Air Force and went to work for IBM. Well, that didn't lead to a much different life in terms of, you're probably used to military folks moving around a lot. Well, he worked for IBM in the I've been moved days of IBM. So we moved
Wow.
around a lot. And even part of that was a time in England. So all that moving around, one of the things that I learned is how to make friends and new friends and adapt to new environments and that sort of thing. I
Very
guess
helpful.
so. That was one key part of it. The family was always very religious family, Christian based. We always went to church, and so I learned those values and have kept those. Um, and while I guess another aspect is I was a Boy Scout growing up. I'm an Eagle
Mm.
Scout. Got that done before I was 15. So learned some leadership skills and some way to solve problems and lead teams a little bit through those experiences. I guess those are some of the things that shape the
But
childhood.
they're powerful, and I've been doing this podcast now for a good 3 years. And what I find that every single person that I have interviewed has somewhere along the line learned these really important values of, hard work and caring for each other and, those things that make really good leaders. So it's always interesting to me to hear somebody's story and how those things have sort of emerged, um, from different families. But it's probably, I could probably say at some level, and if they didn't learn it in their family, they learned it somewhere along the line from some other mentor, or from their church or teachers, or that there's always been somebody to believe in them and carry them forth. So so from there, just kind of how did you get into the financial world and kind of I can see that you hold a big picture in order to, I'm a social worker by training, and social workers, I used to say I'm the hub of the wheel. I know what I do, and then I know the resources that you need to help you be a whole person. And you're kind of doing that with that holistic financial view. How did you kind of come across that?
Well, Dad working for IBM, we had computers in the house. So I don't know why, but I picked one up and I started playing and tinkering. This was days when that god awful noise was made when you connect to the internet. Um, so I
Windows and
started,
DOS, right?
yeah, that's right. That's right. So I tinkered a little bit. I took a little programming class in high school, an elective, and just, well, it might have been the pretty girl in the class that encouraged me to go, but I found out that I really had an aptitude for it. And so I ended up going to Clemson and getting a computer engineering degree. And so most people think, well, wait a minute, computer engineering, accounting, these things don't necessarily go together.
They
And
do.
I did go from Clemson and was a software engineer for 4 years. And then my dad was looking for his next thing in life and was looking to start a small business. And he has an accounting degree. So he thought, okay, there's some opportunity in a franchise situation. And he decided he'd like to launch out and do that. Well, very quickly he got in over his skis and he said, I could use some help. Would you like to come? And so I joined him and we have figured this thing out. So it's interesting to me, I guess, what you got me thinking. And the reason I told you that story is the correlation that I found out that I was pretty good at is it's just the abstract thinking that software design takes. A lot of times putting your hand, it's not like you're putting a physical thing together. And so you're
Mm-hmm.
having to think through computer structures and data things and picture these things when you can't actually touch them. And there's a decent amount of that in the accounting world that you kind of got to think through the logic of, I mean, it's an accounting logic. It's maybe one that most people don't understand, but
Right.
I'm somehow, some way, God gave me the gift to be able to think that abstractly, and I'm able to bring that abstract thinking, the problem solving aspect that I loved about the engineering world to the accounting world, and
I think
and,
that's
and
beautiful. And I love the
put
way you
all these
describe it.
puzzle pieces together to make something that works well.
Yeah, I was just saying, I love the way you describe it because everybody has their area of genius. And the way that you were describing what you do is so different in terms of the, kind of the mechanical kinds of things. But in order to be a problem solver, we have to be able to think abstractly and put these pieces together and hold them in our minds or our eyes or our body or, somewhere so that we can. And I always think about people, they're puzzle pieces, different aspects of this and different aspects. So as you're describing these puzzle pieces, the way that you were raised, and then your dad, kind of took you in, and that you found your place where your skills and aptitudes were incredibly valuable, right?
Yep.
So you started this business with your dad. Did you start it as a new franchise business? Is that what it is, or did you buy into a franchise and then
We
expand?
bought into a franchise. There was some areas that existed and we bought into, and there were some areas that um, had nothing, and we took to grow out of that. So it's a little bit of a combination of had some starting point and had not some starting point, but to Dad and I, we had literally no experience going into this. We had to go learn, right? And that's the interesting point that I make with my team a lot is they're going, wow, this is hard. Like I'm stuck on this problem or learning this area. And I'm going, yeah, but you got it easy. I'm here and you ask me questions. When I had to do it, I kind of went, who's behind me? Who can I go ask? And there wasn't so many people. So, you learn, what are your resources and how do you learn? There's books, there's courses, there's sometimes just figuring it out. I mean, you can read IRS publications and all that. Some of that takes you just so far. But yeah, just the grit to go figure it out and get it done was
There you go. The
really
logic
interesting.
behind it, right?
Yeah.
So, what were some of the bumps in the road for you? Some of the, in addition to that having to figure it out, what were some of the things that you had to learn for yourself? Kind of working through some of these things. I come at it from the emotional intelligence side. What were some of the bumps that you hit that, oh God, this isn't working for me. I gotta make a shift here. I gotta make a
Well,
shift there.
yeah, when you go to run a business, there's, gosh, I just, I always think about to Donald Rumsfeld's favorite thing that says, there's things we know, and we know how to, we'll attack those. There's things we don't know, and we don't know them. We know it's a hole, and we'll do our best to plug those. But then it's the things that we don't know
That we don't
that
know.
are really going to get us. And that's kind of true of the journey in the business is you think you know certain things. I came in here, I was um, about 4 years out of college. So of course, still thinking I know everything.
Right,
And so
right.
what have you learned? Well, I've learned technical skills in all these areas. Sure, we've passed exams and all these things, but then there's, to your point, the other emotional intelligence things that I don't know. How do you deal with being a leader and an employer? How do you balance it with personal life? How do you create an environment that team members want to be a part of and come to work energized and ready to attack the mission? How do you craft an offering that clients will buy? How do you price it? I mean, there's all these things that
Yes.
geez, I think if I knew it all when I got started, I might run the other
No, I never
way.
said it.
But you kind of figure them out as you go along, and that's part of the journey. And like anything, you look for people to help you, right? I mean, part of the business we're in is we can be a professional hired one to help, but you're always looking for that coach, that mentor, that hired help. All of these things help to produce the end result, and it's just a lot of stuff to go in. So where are the bumps? They're all over the place. I mean, they're everywhere you turn. And admittedly, I have they joke with me, the team, a lot, because Scott, you're always glass half empty. I'm always, we can improve and we can do better. And I have to consciously stop and go, you know what? We might can improve, but we did a pretty good job. That wasn't so bad. Like
Yes.
we did something
Yes.
good. And let's take a brief moment to celebrate before we go to let's make it better or let's check out
which
all the
which may
things
not
we
be the most
didn't get
natural
perfect.
place for you to go, right? That
It's
you,
not. I have to just think about it a lot and, tie a string around my finger to go stop and smell the roses.
so out of many of the mentors that you have, who comes to mind and as really kind of a real that helped you with a guiding light and a guiding hand?
Well, top of the list has to be Dad. I mean, he was Scoutmaster back in the Boy Scout days. He's partner in the business. He's been there kind of every step of the way, and I've been lucky to have great parents that have been supportive in all the right ways. That wasn't um, a challenge. I mean, I see so many have challenged that area, and I was blessed not to have those.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those were, atop that list. Um, the other, I guess, the number two thing that I could say behind this that has gone really well is looking for industry peers and making friends, particularly within that. So I've joined a couple professional organizations over the time, this one and that one, but all of them making friends within there and finding, so in my case, other accountants, other financial advisors that do this.
Mm-hmm.
I guess today there are a couple that are down the street that I'm even friends with, local competitors, but mostly these are people outside of the area. I'm great friends with a guy in Montana. We talk on the phone, once a month, and
Mm-hmm.
um, but those professional relationships have been amazing to be able to bounce questions and
Right.
um, concerns and off of because it when you run a business as a leader, a lot of times it can be very, very lonely, right? You think
Yes.
if you're in the
Yes.
middle of an organization, I've got peers, I've got a boss, I've got these people to lean on. But when you're at the top and you go, I have this problem with this team, right? The culture isn't right, the finances, it's not as profitable as it should be, whatever. It's hard to go and ask your employees how to fix that.
Absolutely. And you bring out
And
such an
having
important part. Yeah, I kind of wrote a whole thing about, is lonely at the top. And you bring out so many really important things that for you, probably it's just, you understand these. But I'm just going to highlight number one. One of the things, Scott, is that you have an ability, it sounds like, to be self-effacing and objective with yourself. We can be really hard on ourselves, but we also can be very defensive. And when people come at us, well, maybe you could do it this way, or oh no, 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 no. But to be able to be a really great leader, you have to be able to look at your own behavior. Actually, all just like you look at the books sometimes. What's working? What's not working? What do I need to add? Where do I feel lonely? Where do I need to have somebody to talk to? Where do I find these people? Because again, when you come from a place of being not secure within inside yourself, everybody else is a competitor. And
yeah.
when you can see, right, that my God, there's enough business to go around for the ever. Truly, everybody has to do their taxes.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to make more money. I mean, you're in a business, as my ex-husband used to say, the restaurant business, everybody has to eat. The
There you
grocery
go.
store. Everybody needs the services that you have. And we get caught a lot of times in this level of competition, and
Yeah,
there's
I'm
no
not
shortage.
sure which one of the industry leaders, writers, authors coined the term, but the abundance mindset, right? That there is
Exactly.
enough for all of
Exactly.
us. And particularly
Yes.
in our case, yeah, I do have local friends that, we definitely share that mindset. But go find, I mean, these industry associations, I got friends all over the country at this point that
Yes.
they aren't
Yes.
competitors. They're doing the same thing. And I mean, while there's internets and all those things, I'm not vying for people in St. Louis or Indianapolis or New Orleans, where some of my friends live. It's okay. So we can have very open, very candid conversations.
Which
I
is
mean,
beautiful.
literally, I fly to a very warm destination once a year and sit in a room for half a day. And we open
Yeah.
our financial statements and say, look how my finances did last year, and challenge each other and go, I don't know, that doesn't look very good. These ratios look off. I mean, we pretty much full exposure, and those relationships where you can be that transparent and ask for that much help, it's amazing.
It is amazing. And again, people don't talk about this very much, and especially people in your position do not talk about it very much. And so I appreciate that truly. And you're kind of a living example. I know when I moved into New York City and somebody said to me, "You know how many therapists there are in here?" I said, "You know how many people need help?"
Yeah, 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 yeah. So big shout out to PASBA, the Professional Association of Small Business Accountants. I mean, that's been an amazing organization for me to be a part of. Very, very giving people in that are willing to help others, and I think you join, and I experience people who are willing to give and invest in me, and so it makes you want to do the same for others well, and
Exactly.
it's a great spirit, and look for that in professional organizations. There are others that doesn't exist in, and I'm sure whether you're a builder or even in a franchise organization, you can find kindred spirits that you can bounce ideas and challenges off of.
Beautiful.
But having those has been those relationships just amazing for me.
Right. So I think everybody can appreciate, and again, I'm gonna put a little highlight on this piece. You cannot do this work alone. You just can't. We don't live alone. There's too many things that we can't see. I always say the unconscious by its nature is unconscious. That's just like what you said, about Rumsford. What we can't, what we don't know, we can't see, we can't solve. And I always say, other people know your blind spots. Wouldn't you like to know them too? Because they're blind spots. Right?
Yep.
Right. So
Yeah,
Scott, this is just,
unknown,
I know that
unknown.
you have so much to share, and I really, really appreciate your time. And tell us how people can get in touch with you.
Easiest ways through our website. The company is Core Financial Resources, and we're at corefr.com.
See, and even your name, yes,
Yep.
definitely is your
And
brand is the core of all finance.
that's right. That's right.
Right. So thank you again. And we had a little technical difficulty to begin with, but we figured it out. We solved another problem. And I appreciate this. And people will be looking forward to hearing your great thoughts. Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Scott.
Tina. Good to talk to you.